Hey guys, Miss Watson here with your homework review for 11.3 probability of multiple events. So thank you to the 18 people that filled this out. I do appreciate it. As I scroll down, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 400%, which is awesome to see. Um, Somebody I think later asked about 7 and 8, so I might just do one of those. Still looking pretty good. And then we get down to 12, 12, 13, 14. And 14 was definitely pretty tough. So I'm going to go over 12, 13, 14 for sure. And then I have these questions down here at the bottom as well. Okay, so let me just move this guy over here. All right, let me go ahead and flip and let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go over number 7 because somebody asked for 7 and 8. The one thing you guys want to do here when you're dealing with probability of multiple events is make sure you know if it's an and or a or, okay, because those are different formulas. So this one is asking for probability of S or T. So another question that we'll see below was just like, does that mean you're looking for the answer? Yeah, that means you're saying, what's the probability of S happening or the probability of T? Okay, and so our formula that we learned looks like this. Probability of S plus probability of T. And then don't forget minus probability of S and T. However, since these are mutually exclusive, which means that they cannot happen at the same time, this is going to be 0 if mutually exclusive. In this case, they are, right? Because if they, again, are mutually exclusive, they cannot happen at the same time. So the probability of them happening at the same time is 0. So for these two, you're just going to add them up. Okay, so this is going to be 5 over 8 plus 1 over 8 equals to 6 over 8, which as a decimal is going to be 0.75 and percentage 75%. Okay, all right, let's look at number 12. So number 12 says a multiple choice test has 4 choices for each answer. Suppose you make a random guess on 3 of the 10 questions. What is the probability that you answer all 3 correctly? So here's our question. Probability that you answer all 3 correctly. So there's 10 questions on the test, but we're not worried about those 10. We're only worried about these 3 that you are randomly guessing on. Okay, and so the way I'm going to do this is an and statement, right? Because you're answering all 3 correctly. Right, definitely multiple events, but it's an and statement. So it kind of looks like this. Probability of correct on number 1. And uh, probability of correct on number 2. And probability of correct on number 3. Okay, and so now what we need to think of here is are these events dependent or independent? Well, they're independent. Okay, there's nothing here that says this is a multi-part question, right? These are 3 individual questions, meaning if you guess on 4, 5, and 6, whether you get 4 correct or not has no bearing on whether you get 5 correct. Whether you get 5 correct or incorrect has no impact on whether you guess correctly for number 6. Okay, so these are independent events. So we are going to use our formula, just multiplies everything. So if there's 4 choices for each question, the probability of getting the first one correct is just 1 over 4. Okay, and now the and statement says that we multiply, right? So um, I'm not sure exactly. I think we used A and B, right? Probability of A and B happening is just probability of A times probability of B. So we're going to follow that here, and there's 3 of them, but we're just going to multiply all of them. Well, the second one, probability of negative 2 is correct. Well, there's still one correct answer out of 4. And the third one, the same thing. There's still one correct answer out of 4. All right, so we multiply these all together. You get 1 over 64 as a decimal, 0.0156, and therefore as a fraction, 1.56%. I'm sorry, percentage. I'm not sure why I said fraction. Okay. All right, let's look at 13 and 14. So a jar contains 4 blue marbles, 2 red marbles. Suppose you choose a marble at random and do not replace it. Do not replace it. That means it's dependent. Okay. Choose a second marble. Then you choose a second marble. Find the probability of each event. Okay. So you select a blue marble and then a red marble. So let's do a couple things here. Total marbles is 6, 4, and 2. Okay. So this one says it's an and statement. So this is probability of blue and red. Okay, and so like I just wrote up there, the formula, it's going to be the probability of B, blue, times the probability of R, red. So you're choosing the blue one first. Okay, so the order here matters, right? It's blue and then red. So the probability of choosing a blue on the first draw, well, there's 4 blue marbles out of total of 6. Okay, now in these questions, guys, you assume that you chose a blue one, okay? Because that's what you're looking for, the probability of it. So now on the second draw, and then remember, it says do not replace it. So on the second draw, there's not 6 marbles left, there's only 5. Okay, and so somebody later asked about dependent events. Well, this is a dependent event, right? So there's only 5 left. So how many of those 5 are red? Well, there's still 2 red ones in there because in that first draw, we picked a blue. So multiply this out. You're going to get 8 over 30, which reduces to 4 over 15. As a decimal, it's going to be 0.267. I rounded there. So as a percentage, 26.7%. And on the quiz, we'll specify whether put your answer as a fraction, as a decimal, as a percentage, and how to round it. Okay, now this next one is a little tricky. It says, what is the probability? One of the marbles you select is blue and the other is red. Now, this is in and statement as well, but it doesn't tell you the order, right? It doesn't say the first one said blue and then red. This doesn't say blue and then red, right? Or it doesn't say red and then blue. So you have to consider both scenarios, right? It's saying you pick a marble, you don't replace it. You pick another marble. What is the probability the 2 marbles you now have in hand, one is blue and one is red? So you have to take into account 2 scenarios here, right? You have the probability that you pick a blue one and then a red one, which is what we just did right up here. But then you also have the probability that you pick a red one and then a blue one. Okay, so the and part is right here, right? The reason why it's or, again, guys, is because there's 2 scenarios where this and can happen. Let me say that again. There's 2 different scenarios where this and event can happen. You could pick a blue and then a red, or you pick a red and then a blue. So the first one we just did up top, right? This is just 8 over 30, right? And I'm getting that again from right there. Well, let's do the second one then, right? Or, which means it's a plus. So probability of red or blue. So this would be probability of red. So there's still 6 total, and there's 2 red. So red and then blue. And, well, now you don't replace it, remember? So it's gone from 6 down to 5. And how many of those 5 are blue? 4. So if you're already seeing it, it's the same. 8 over 30 plus 8 over 30. Okay? But you have to consider both scenarios. All right, so go ahead and simplify this out. You're going to get 16 over 30, which reduces to 8 over 15. As a decimal, 0.533. So as a percentage, 53.3%. Right? So whether it becomes blue, you pick a blue and then red, or a red and then blue. Okay, let's just make sure I got all these questions. 13 and 14, got that. When it's asked to find probability of S or R, you're just solving for the answer yes. You're solving for what is the probability of event S or event R happening. Dependent events. So this is where you just have to make sure you reduce total number um, or total number of possible outcomes. So like with the marbles, if you don't replace it, it's dependent. It has an impact on the next draw, so you need to reduce it from 6 marbles to 5 marbles. Okay, so number 14 just went over, and turns out if you look back at number 14, it doesn't actually, so you want to do both scenarios, blue and then red and then blue, and then understand that that's an or statement, right? Because either of those could happen. I went over 7. 8 is very similar to 1 over 14, 13 and 14. All right, guys, hope that was helpful. You'll get more practice on today's review. Thanks.